And so the time has come. I speak my final words from this pulpit as my contract as your minister is ending this week. Our paths diverge, and this congregation and I prepare to go our separate ways. These 2 years have been a time of change and challenge for us all, calling forth the strength and resilience of this historic congregation as you have addressed the issues of our times, turning toward a future of courage, compassion, and hope. My ministerial practice has been dedicated to supporting congregations in moving through change and challenge with intentionality. I had planned, speaking of intentionality, I had planned to retire 2 years ago. In the summer of 2024, moving into the home I had purchased just down the river from here in Hyde Park at the end of my 5-year developmental ministry in New Jersey. I thought I would retire. But then I discovered that UU Catskills was looking for a part-time minister. I connected with your search committee, and together we agreed on a 2-year contract for half-time ministry, hoping it would be a good fit for your needs and my skills toward the end of my ministerial career. When I arrived in August 2024, we were still coming out of the COVID pandemic. As a matter of fact, I created a super spreader event on my first Sunday here. Some of you probably got COVID along with me. I don't know who else, I don't remember who else did. Yes, okay, some of you did. But change was already underway. Your board leaders asked me to work with your new Healthy Congregation Task Force as they explored ways to support positive relationships and conflict transformation in the congregation. They also hoped that I could support other big changes that were on the horizon for the congregation. That June, before I arrived, the congregation had voted to list your Sauk Hill Road property for sale, and you got a very good purchase offer almost immediately, which pushed that change much faster than you had envisioned. And of course, we were all affected by the November 2024 election and the unfolding changes in the social and economic landscape which have followed. As I think about change, I return often to a quote from author Dennis Covington. Quote, "There are moments when you stand on the brink of a new experience and understand that you have no choice about it. Either you walk into the experience or you turn away from it, but you know that no matter what you choose, you will have altered your life in a permanent way. Either way, there will be consequences." End quote. It is so true. Our choices and our changes come with consequences, and that is simply the nature of life in this world. My entire professional life, even before I was a minister, has been devoted to choice and change, supporting individuals and organizations in processes of transition, inviting them to discover new possibilities for themselves. Author William Bridges points out that change and transition are two different things. Change is an event, something that happens. And along with the event of change, there is something else going on, a journey of transition through which we move as the change and the consequences unfold. Every change involves a transition and emotional journey we make from an ending of what has been, venturing into and through a space of uncertainty, the wilderness, when the past is gone and the future not yet arrived, until finally we create and enter a new beginning. The process of transition begins with an ending, as every change implies that something is ended. As Bridges says, quote, "The starting point for dealing with transition is the ending you'll have to make to leave the old situation behind. Psychological transition depends on letting go of the old reality and the old identity you had before the change takes place. Transition starts with an ending," end quote. The feelings associated with this first stage of transition, the ending, include loss and doubt, feeling unsettled, perhaps denial or resistance. I think of the ending as standing on the deck of a ship as it sails away from an established and well-known shore, feeling sadness as the old familiar places slip into the past, and starting to notice the first signs of turbulence as we move into the open sea ahead. The second stage of transition begins once we have cast off and left the old shore behind us, and we find ourselves in open water between the old reality we have left behind and the new reality that has not yet coalesced. This is a time, as William Bridges says, when, quote, all the old clarities break down and everything is in flux. No one knows the answers, end quote. This middle stage of transition can be what Reverend Jake Morrill has called a volatile, uncertain, complex, ambiguous time. His example was the crisis of the COVID pandemic, but in so many ways, this terminology speaks to what has come to be an ongoing situation of turbulence and uncertainty. The world is experiencing massive economic, social, and technological upheavals with volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. We are also in a sweeping generational change that is upending our expectations about how people will participate in institutions at every level. It is clear that the new generations coming into adulthood, those moving into leadership in the workplace, in government and congregations and other institutions, have different patterns, different expectations, different needs than the established leadership of my baby boom generation and the generation before me. The ways our society has been structured, the patterns of work and leisure, home and travel, privacy and community are shifting around us. These times call us to open up our channels of communication and engagement, to consider ways of being that might feel new and unfamiliar, to experiment with new ways of connecting in community, new ways of living in the world. The uncharted waters of transition can be uncertain and often scary, a time of discomfort, chaos, and confusion, but they also present new opportunities for connection, discernment, and discovery as we are inspired in this unknown territory to become more deeply creative and resourceful. And then finally, in our journey of transition, we catch a first glimpse of the distant shore, even as we're still muddling about in the complex ambiguity of the in-between time. That shore is our destination in the journey of transition, our new beginning, when we reap the fruits of our creativity, embrace our new reality, and shape the future of which we have dreamed. The two big questions in the journey of transition are how to manage and move through the grief of loss and our endings, and how to thrive in the open waters of that middle space, the liminal time, how to take full advantage of the potential and possibilities of the space where we have left the past behind, and we are invited in community to create a future of promise and hope, grounded in our values and growing toward our mission. I believe that the key to success in moving through any transition is our intentionality, the way we enter the open space between the end and the beginning, choosing how we will use this opportunity to transform ourselves and our organizations, to become more of who we most deeply are, who we most deeply wish to be, to each other and in the world. How we use this time, where we focus, what we decide and design in that in-between space, makes all the difference for the future we create for ourselves and for those who will inherit the world after we are gone. Change is inevitable. Transition is a process. Transformation is our choice. And as Unitarian Universalists, we center ourselves and grow our possibility for transformation in the power of love. The speaker in last Sunday's General Assembly worship service, Reverend Jen Youngsoon Ryu, quoted inspirational writer M. Scott Peck, who reminds us that love is not just an emotion. Love is an intention and a discipline. As Peck says, love is as love does. Love is an act of will, namely both an intention and an action. Will also implies choice. We do not have to love. We choose to love, end quote. And we can choose to create the future in the power of love. So, what is the promise of this transitional time, and how do we move through it with the intention and the power of love? To begin my thoughts for you, this Unitarian Universalist congregation of the Catskills has been experiencing multiple overlapping transitions in recent years, some very obvious and others more subtle, but just as powerful. The most obvious change was the sale of your historic congregational home and your move into this Midtown location. The sale and move carried mixed experiences of loss and relief as the beautiful but aging Sawkill property had become increasingly burdensome and expensive to maintain. In this Midtown space, you have connected in new ways with the Kingston community. Some of you are here because it's within walking distance of where you live. You've welcomed those who reside in the urban center and created an expanding range of worship experiences that respond to the needs of different spiritual seekers. At the same time, this space doesn't provide the space or facilities to fully support this community of faith, and the rental contract has an end date of January 2028, so that you continue in the ambiguity of the transitional space, continuing to bring your creativity and commitment to take advantage of this location while you search for a new home and manifest the new beginning that you seek. We've also experienced changes in the people who make up this congregational community, changes in your visitors, your membership, your leadership, and those changes are continuing to shape your expectations and capacity during this transitional time. It is clear from comments in this year's sharing circles that you are noticing that there seem to be fewer members available to help keep things running. And in the adoption of the new operating budget, it became clear that your members' financial pledges are no longer sufficient to support full funding for all the programming that was supported in the past. One effect of these changes is the decision by your Board of Trustees to explore the possibilities of becoming a congregation that is served in ministry by its members rather than by a professional UU minister, what we call a lay-led congregation, which my word processing program keeps retyping as Layla. So you can feel some ownership here, Layla. A lay-led congregation, sometimes called a fellowship. About 16% of our UU congregations are lay-led, and Unitarian Universalism as a denomination is rather unique in this being an accepted congregational style rather than being seen as a deficit. Your two closest UU neighbor congregations in Rock Tavern and Poughkeepsie are both intentionally lay-led. The immediate future of this congregation, the decisions before you, invites every one of you into intentionality in the power of love as you use this transitional time created by the retirement of your minister to explore what it would mean to enter a new identity as a lay-led congregation. This transitional time provides the opportunity to consider what it would mean to let go of your old reality and identity as a congregation with ministerial leadership, to explore the potential benefits and drawbacks of a new vision for your future, and experiment with new ways to live into your mission as a community of a liberal and welcoming faith. As you embark on this journey of possibility, I am on a journey of my own, as for the first time in 18 years, I will not be serving as a congregational minister. This provides an opportunity for me to explore in new ways my passion to support congregations through intentional transition in their leadership, governance, and their culture of relationship. Rather than working from within a congregation on transitional processes, I will shift my focus to serve as a mentor, coach, and consultant to colleagues and congregations who are seeking renewal and transformation. I will invite them to engage with the joyful and dedicated work of learning and discernment, discovering more effective patterns of organizational coherence and covenantal relationship, centered always in the power of love. This is for me both a continuation of the work I most love and a new and uncertain adventure in supporting the power of liberal religion in our world. As our paths diverge, this ending brings loss and sadness for me, of course. Much as I have come to love you, I will no longer be your minister, and I will release my connections here, allowing the space for you to explore your new way forward. You will have a pastoral care provider and strong congregational leadership, and I know I am leaving you in the best of hands. You have provided so many precious blessings in my time with you, and now following Petunia's example, from the story, has anybody figured out that Petunia is my avatar, by the way? Following Petunia's example from the story we shared earlier in the service, I leave you with my blessings for the journey of transition that awaits you. May this UU Congregation of the Catskills always be a place of welcome for all, offering inspiration for the present, hope for the future, and shelter from the storms of life. May your bodies be nourished by wholesome and bountiful snacks. There is that hospitality of the social hour. Your spirits nourished by deep hospitality and by the wisdom and understanding you share. May you continue to create here the home of your hearts, a place of love and hope, peace and joy. May you give and receive love in everything you do. Thank you for being my beloved congregation during this time we have shared. May you always stay strong in community, grounded in your values, and open to new adventures. Amen, and blessed be.